Alright, so welcome to the week 4 creative physiology test walkthrough. So this week has 2 assignments. This assignment I really enjoy just because normally you're always taking the test and here you create the test, which gives you a whole different feel. And I feel like it really grows an appreciation of how tests should work. So we're going to probably cover this all in the rubric, but just so you know that's what it looks like. You won't see the faculty materials part, which has the old template. You have the newer, better template that I updated because the old one sucked and wasn't a very good example. You have the video playlist, which you've obviously accessed, and the rubric. So let's go over the rubric. When we look at the rubric, we'll get all this information in it too, and we'll just do it there. I think we do. Fine. We'll do it here first. I won't be a slacker. So you're going to imagine that you've been asked to teach a small group of your peers about animal organs. You're going to create at least 10 multiple choice question tests to test knowledge of structure and function of animal organs. So at least 10 means you can have more than 10 questions, but don't have less. Because some people can do it in 10 questions or even under if they really want to. But some people are like, I like to spread it out and they want 20 questions. So it's whatever makes you happy as long as there's 10. So 10 or more. That's fine. And then you're going to talk about the differences between asymmetrical radial symmetry and bilateral symmetry. This is 1 point. Endotherms and ectotherms. This is going to be terms of biological creatures, so warm-blooded and cold-blooded, but you need to go deeper than warm-blooded and cold-blooded and say what that really means. Definition and examples of epithelial tissue. You're going to need at least one example, thus it's 1.5 points, right? The same thing with connective tissue, muscle tissue, and nervous tissue. You're going to use the template, which makes life easier. Then there's a little link to help you see how to do a good multiple choice question. Make sure you cite your sources. It's going to give you an example in the templates. Makes it really easy. You're going to have at least 3 references. And it's going to be half a point for format. Usually format goes over pretty well in this because you're just following the multiple choice style. So what you really want to make sure is that you spell check the heck out of everything and that you bold the correct answer, which we'll talk about once we finally look at the template. And yeah, make sure you have your in-text citations. So let me pause this and let's pull up the rubric, which will be a review of this. So this is all the same. And then here is the rubric, just the table style. So it goes through and tells you again how everything is. I like this because if I were doing the test, I would just be like, did I talk about asymmetrical? And then I would just highlight it, be like, that one's done. Okay, now I hit the radial, done. And then I would just know quickly what I have done. I'm going to Control Z so it looks the same because I don't want to save that. And then down here, half a point for in-text citations, a half a point for full. Notice that they do have to match, so don't. Make sure that the first part of reference citation, so say I did, I don't know, CDC 2016. And then if me, the teacher, do a Control F on that CDC, that will show up in your in-text citation so I can see that they match, because they got to match. If they don't match, you can get a 0, because that's plagiarism. I want to make sure we get the citation thing down. By now it should be really easy. Make sure you have 3 references at least. Some people try to do, if you do fewer than 3, you don't have enough sources because you could be looking at a source that's not credible without realizing it, or that has an old point of view. You don't know if anything's controversial, so you always got to have at least 3. And also, it just lets you dive deeper, Got to get different ways of looking at stuff, especially with a test. Specific, yep. So examples, the in-text citations, blah, blah, blah. I said that already. And it's going to be the style and everything. So let's go look at that template now. So here's the template. So this whole section you can just delete down to through here. So and get rid of all of that, or you can leave it. It's fine. I'm not going to take off points, but in the real thing it'll look better. So it says use this template to complete the physiology test assignment. The following is an example of how to format your multiple choice questions. Make sure to include in-text citations in your answers, full references in the reference section. Have at least 10 questions and bold the correct answer. So make sure my correct answers are bolded, or like I'll know which one should be the correct one, but if you don't bold it, I don't know which one you think is the correct. We want to make sure that all our options are plausible. So the example, you see it's really detailed, because if you make it pretty detailed, you can knock off questions easier. If you want to be a little less, you could just say like, what's the definition of a specialist, what's the definition of a generalist, and then have 2 separate questions, or you could be more detailed and have them all in one. So I gave you like a super detailed example. So the difference between what is the difference between a specialist and a generalist? Give an example of each. You see, a specialist can only do one job, while a generalist can do any job. An example is a koala, an example is kudzu, and you'd go through, all of these are potentially possible. This one's wrong because the bottom part. Generalists can always become invasive, so that's not true. A specialist can live almost anywhere, not true. And then the bolded one, B, it doesn't always have to be D. You can make it any letter. Try to have 4 options. You can have more if you wish. If you want to have pictures that you do include, that's cool too. So the answer is bolded. It says a specialist needs very specific resources to thrive, while a generalist can live almost anywhere and eat almost anything. An example of a generalist is kudzu, an example of a specialist, koala. Since I am citing this entire answer, you see my in-text citation goes after the last period. If I was only citing this first part here, then I would put this thing right inside, okay? And then your questions, and you'll see it's just blank. So you just answer, you just stick them in. If you end up having more, what I would do is just like Control-C and then change the number. No big deal. And then you go through all that. Yay! There's a page break, and we get to references. You want to cite them in APA format, hanging indents, all that fun stuff. If you use the reference citation generator, it shouldn't be a problem. As always, I love to have to review drafts. This one's pretty quick usually to review, which is very nice. And the biggest thing, I think the biggest thing is hit all the prompts. Make sure you discuss all those things. Make sure you have your in-text citations. Generally, you're probably going to have an in-text citation per an answer. Make sure all your citations are credible. So no Wikipedia, no wiki anything. Try for .edu, right, or .org. With the more body parts, you might be looking at like the CDC, the NIH kind of places. So some good stuff. And I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Please send me a draft because you know they make my day.